Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's Elliot Brown here in the Essex Business Radio studio, and I'm here for the fourth in a very special series of podcasts that I'm doing on Zoom, as people know now, because we've had to adapt and change what we're doing. And this is C-19, how we deal with it. And a lot of people come back to me and want to have a chat with regards to how they are dealing with the changes in our lives, how they've had to adapt and how they've had to maybe change their business or their role, and any ideas and advice they've got to give up for anybody else that's out there that's listening or watching here in the UK and Essex and globally as well. I'm really excited about what we're doing here. And today, Jenefer Livings joins me on Zoom. Hi, Jenefer. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing well, thank you. It's all a bit weird. It's all a bit changing worlds at the moment, but it's all good.
Yeah, good. Well, we had a little technical issue, which nobody's really going to know about, but I don't mind saying these things because, do you know what? It's bringing it down to a real level. There's been a huge technical issue on the planet right now, so the ones we're having are no problem at all. So you're Silk Helix is your company.
Yep.
You're actually an Essex-based business. Are you from Essex as well?
I am. I'm Essex girl through and through. Lived in kind of Wickford, Lee, Rayleigh, and I'm now in Benfleet. So yes, I'm definitely an Essex girl.
Yeah, right. And you're it's an HR company that you run, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we support small businesses, so we work with businesses across Essex.
Yep.
And help them to get their HR right, solve their people management problems, support them in getting their HR, their employment law compliance.
Sure.
Yeah, we like to be a face-to-face business. We like to work very closely with the small businesses, get to know them.
Yeah.
And obviously that's changing a bit at the moment in the way that we work. But that's what we like to do.
And how has this affected your business? I mean, obviously, your HR is quite a hands-on thing, I'm assuming. I mean, your business is. I know we had a little quick chat before we start recording, which I always like to do. So your business now is obviously completely remote, and you were unhappy about the background. But do you know what? It's real. You're running your business. You've adapted, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean that's it. So we were always a remote first business.
Right.
So as we grow the business, the plan will be that we do that from home. I've worked from home for over 10 years with the big national consultancies.
Right.
Companies based up north, and I kind of covered the Essex area. So for me, that bit of it's quite normal, quite natural.
Yep.
Working from home with the kids around, trying to homeschool children whilst also trying to work is a massive challenge.
Of course.
So that's been the kind of the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And then of course there's all the changing things around furlough, the new government guidance.
Yeah.
Getting used to clients that are having sudden change, and everything we know about change management's kind of out the window. All of a sudden you're trying to do things really quickly, being really reactive.
What'd you say? Change management?
Change management.
Okay.
I mean, we if I'm talking to companies about how they change things for people, you want to keep some things stable and change other things. You want to tell people what the outcome's going to look like.
Yeah.
And of course, all that's out the window right now. We can't do any of that.
You don't know what the changes are, do you? So you're having to adapt and change as well as anybody else, I suppose.
Absolutely.
So are you finding that a lot of people are coming to you for advice and finding out where things stand? And that must be, I'm assuming that's difficult. I mean, I know of companies personally that I work with are not in Essex Business Radio, but the business. But and of course, they're wanting answers that nobody really has. So you must be finding that a lot, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, the government announced the furlough scheme and paying 80% of employees' wages.
Yeah.
And understandably, instantly, people wanted to know how they access it. They wanted to know how they could implement it.
Of course.
Employees that had already been made redundant wanted to know how they could come back and claim it.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of unknowns. And even when the guidance came out, it was unknown. And we normally have a year or two to plan for changes in legislation.
Yeah.
And we deal with all of this overnight, and hugely promoted in the press as well, so people know about it, people are asking about it.
Yeah.
There's also some difficulties in terms of people that just can't furlough or are having to look at redundancies. Before that scheme came out, we were looking at some redundancies, and that was looking to be quite difficult. It's always tough when you're looking at people losing their jobs.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And people have had to make redundancies and then had to reverse it when the furlough schemes sort of came through. And we were doing that. We were chatting to Jamie, yesterday on exactly the same subject, and he had to sort of reverse that. But they've got to slim their business down. So I mean, what are you doing to adapt to the changes? I mean, what sort of things are you doing to change what you are doing? I mean, apart from being reactive to the changes that are happening and the news that's coming out on virtually a daily basis.
Yeah. I think the last couple of weeks has been very reactive. That's all we've been able to do. So we've been working really hard to try and put out as much information as we can. We've got a Knowledge Hub on our website. We try and filter through everything as soon as I get information, and and also keeping those articles up to date, because I write them and then 2 days later they're not up.
Yeah, exactly. So you're loading that straight up onto your website for your clients to see. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, for clients to see, and anyone else that needs it as well. So we've been doing a lot of that kind of work, a lot of reaction work, supporting clients through redundancies, furlough, those sorts of things, supporting care homes to keep their staff in work, because obviously that's a huge challenge as well.
Definitely.
So yes, up to now it's been highly reactionary. I think the next few weeks we'll be starting to do a lot more of the proactive in terms of looking at how businesses can adapt to the changes going forward, and as we get clearer what this might mean for the long term, then we'll be able to do a lot more work around kind of performance managing people at home, supporting people to actually build and recruit remote teams, because I think there'll be a lot more companies wanting to look at those sorts of options going forward.
I think you're absolutely right. I think the people are realizing that you can run businesses in a different way, and that is the work. That's the game changer. I believe in business. That's the game changer for a lot of people. It's going to put a lot of people's a lot of noses out of joint. That's for sure when it comes to certain businesses, and I think the competition is just about to step its game up. That's the thing. I think there's a lot of people that are smaller companies that probably are able to adapt to the change. I mean, you correct me if you think I'm wrong.
No, you're right.
That's my opinion, and not that of the company, so to speak. But I think, don't you think that's right? I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be able to adapt, and the bigger guys may not be able to. They're going to see a lot of people that are going to disappear. I think that have been complacent for many years.
No, absolutely. I think you look at sort of small local restaurants and how many of them have quickly changed to become takeaways.
Of course,
which the big chains don't and haven't done, and their systems will make it so much harder for them to do.
Yeah.
And I think there'll be a lot of that. I think small businesses will be able to look at how they streamline things, look at the rents they're paying out for buildings, and whether or not they really need those.
Absolutely.
And you start cutting some of those overheads. That can make some interesting savings for your business and change the way you do things, make you more competitive. So I think we will see people start to question how they've always done it and change their mindset, really, with people that have resisted home working for a long time. And there's pros and cons to home working. I'm a huge advocate of it. I've done it for 10 years. I couldn't go back to being in an office now. I'm so used to being at home. Because I know people who quite like to escape the home. So you can see from both sides. But I think there's going to be lots of businesses taking the opportunity to really look at what they do and how they do it. And I think you're right, small businesses, this is the time for small businesses. I think being agile could really help them right now.
Agile, that's a good word. We're going to note that one down. I love agile. Yeah, definitely. No, you're absolutely right. So what are you advising people right now? I mean, you must be having to advise, but from your and for once, people are having to take quite personal advice, because it's not that you can necessarily get any more information than anybody can get right now. You probably have an edge, but it won't, 3 hours later, anybody can find that information. So what are you sort of advising people? I mean, what's your sort of words of advice? And
yes, it's interesting because it really does depend on the type of business and how they need to run, how this impacts them. I think the furlough scheme has been the biggest thing, and is the biggest thing that we're looking for. It is in a lot of ways the saviour right now to stop people having to make rush decisions.
Yes.
So I'd certainly recommend that anyone that needs to cut back their workforce is making use of that scheme. But whilst they're doing that, they need to think long term about their business, and they need to think about how they're going to get their customers back. So that comes out of the HR sphere into the marketing and all of that kind of side of it, which isn't my expertise. But actually, when you look at a business, you can see how they're doing things and whether or not they're going to come out of this by how they're kind of carrying on, and whether or not they're keeping some marketing up, whether they're keeping some people. And that would be my advice. If you can afford to keep some people on board,
yes,
to keep your company alive, keep the marketing out there, that's, I think, going to be a game changer for
So
people.
here's an interesting question, and I think there's people doing this,
Hmm.
and the furlough scheme, right?
Yes.
So there are people out there that are running businesses and are
Yeah.
going, lovely. 80% of this money are
Oh
going to
yeah.
get paid to the staff, but what we want is our staff to keep on working. But
Hmm.
there's people out there that aren't necessarily thinking about the staff and the way the business needs to be run, and actually making those people go and saying, I'm going to pay 3 or 4 of my team because there's 10 of them, for example. So it says 10 or 15 people, and the 3 or 4 of them, they need to have actively working, but they're going to get the other people to work as well. What this clearly isn't what the furlough scheme is for. Do
No.
you think this is going on?
From what I hear, it's going on.
Yeah.
I've not directly spoken to any companies that are doing it.
Yeah.
Particularly, I think when I hear of people putting salespeople onto furlough,
Sure.
because a lot of that's about relationships, things like keeping up on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a grey line about your personal brand on on LinkedIn, for example, compared to actually marketing for the company.
Yeah.
So I think that's quite difficult if you're furloughing salespeople.
Sure.
It's morally, I think that businesses shouldn't be using it when they don't need to, or when they're keeping people
If they
working. And
need
of course,
people actively working, for sure. Yeah.
that's it. Needing people actively working and actually bringing in money to pay them, I know, is 2 different things, and that can
Yeah.
be quite challenging. But we will all be paying this back in tax
Yes.
for many, many years.
Yeah.
So it's disappointing when you see companies that are using a scheme that perhaps they don't need to. So what I have heard of is companies that have got monthly retainers.
Yeah.
So clients are continuing to pay their monthly fees, and yet they've furloughed staff
Yeah.
and saving 80% on wages. So,
And
but it's difficult.
this is the bit that I'm afraid will that I know will be going on out there,
Yeah,
because we all know business people that are only really thinking about the money rather than the well-being of their business or their staff and things like that.
yeah,
And so anybody that is out there, I highly advise them to rethink about how they are doing that, because I don't think their staff are going to respect them in the same way if they think that the owner of the business is basically getting away without having to pay anybody but keep the business running. And that's what I'm sort of trying to get at. I think this is a very grey area. It's a weird
yeah.
subject. It's one that I think is going to come up quite a lot now moving forward. Depends on how long we're in this situation, I suppose.
Absolutely. Culture and reputation coming out of this, I think, will be really interesting for companies, and quite challenging for some that have made potentially poor decisions.
Yeah.
We know that, I mean, I've seen naming and shaming, Twitter, on Twitter and things like that. The people are naming their employers and
Yeah.
naming companies they've heard of doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And some of it's not just about doing what the law says you can do, it's about the morals, and it's
I think
about
you're
how people
absolutely right.
feel about that.
Yeah.
And it does, the law may say it's okay to do it, whether it's then feels okay to people is 2 different things.
Yeah.
And when people work for a company, I think we're in a society now where people want to feel okay about what they do,
Definitely.
and it does impact. And it's a challenge even for people. I mean, the NHS, I think, that have seen this over sort of many years. They've been
Yeah.
pushed and pushed to the limits,
Yeah.
with less and less money to operate their service. And now we're saying, we want you all to come to work and do a really great job for us.
Mm.
And you can see how some of those cuts in previous years will hit morale and people's ability and want to do their work now.
Definitely.
And I think that's what we have to think about, is the implications of those decisions and how it affects people then wanting to give back that loyalty to the business owner.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting times, eh?
Absolutely, definitely interesting times. And I think the next 6 months or so, and then on from that will be quite exciting times, and we'll see a lot of change. And the businesses that take the right decisions, I think, could come out of it very well. Actually, I think I do see some quite exciting times for
Yeah.
some people.
Yep.
But I think there are others that will see some very negative times, unfortunately. So hopefully the 2 will balance out.
So you're embracing the change, are you? That's the hashtag that we're using. Are you
Absolutely.
embracing this and going to make the most of it? And I'm assuming, by the sounds of you, what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly the way I want to look at it, and the way, yeah, absolutely, this is an ideal time for me to be putting things out there, getting things set up in the background. I know that people right now aren't thinking about how they're going to long-term manage their people and
Yeah.
culture and all of those things. but they will be, and they will need to coming out of this, and
Yeah, for sure.
they'll want to be growing their businesses. So I'm excited for that time.
Yeah.
That'll be when the kids go back to school, and I've got some more time back on my hands. But in
Yeah.
the meantime, I'm getting ready for it. So that's the plan.
By the sounds of where you're speaking, you're already in that mindset, and sort of the
Yeah.
cogs are turning, and about where you need to be and what you've got to do. And anybody that isn't right now, I wholly sell out there to whoever. You're a fool if you think that this is just going to blow over and you're just going to get back to business as usual, because life has now changed. As you said, this is a new world, and we've got to just suck it up, haven't we? Let's get on with it.
Absolutely embrace it. And so people that do that, I think, will come out of it really well. And I'm
Definitely.
really excited to see some businesses coming out of this
For sure.
much stronger.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I think you speak a huge amount of sense, and you're going to have a lot of people coming to you for advice and things. So hold on. Where can people find you, Jenefer?
So my website, silkhelix.co.uk.
Yep.
Or find me. I'm LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. Out on all of them. So come find out where we are, and if you're needing specific advice, then give us a call.
Yeah. Okay. Great stuff. Well, I think we'll keep in touch for sure.
Brilliant.
And maybe we'll touch base and do another one of these, see how things go, because it'd be interesting to see how coming out of the other side, so to speak.
Yeah, that'd be great. It'd be lovely.
Great stuff. Well, thank you very much for joining me. Thanks. That's Jenefer Livings from Silk Helix here in Essex, just outside Chelmsford. Absolute pleasure talking to you today. Thank you very much for that. So if you want to see more of these, then I urge you to go to www.essexbusinessradio.com. There are all of the podcasts available on there. We also have the app, which you can find at any good app store. You'll be able to find the links for Jenefer on the post that we're doing as well for this. And thanks very much, Jenefer. Good luck with everything. Stay safe.
Thank you.
And keep well. And big love to you and your family.
Thank you very much. And you.
All right, take care. And that's it for now. So ciao for now, Brown Cow.